So I was rewatching the JJ Redick podcast when he was talking to Steph Curry, right? And Curry brought up the 2016 finals and how Kyrie and LeBron doing what they did was the craziest thing he'd ever seen, right? And it got me thinking about things like that happen in sports, and how just completely batshit some of this is. Because, in 2016, the Golden State Warriors broke the all-time record for most wins in a season. They broke it. The previous team that had it was the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Pretty sure they had Dennis Rodman on that team. They broke the record, which is insane. And then not only did they break the record, but then in the Western Conference Finals, they were down 3-1. Which I think at that point, that lead came back from 8 times, 7, 8 times, maybe. And they did it. And they brought it back. Which is insane that not only did the, at that point, the greatest regular season team of all time, not only did they go down 3-1 in a series in the playoffs, but they came back from it. And then not only did they do that, but they got themselves a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals against who just so happens to be the same team they played last year, who had a horrible thing of injuries. They had a big three, and 2 of their big 3 were gone. So not only was it insane that they were playing the same team again, but the storyline there is ridiculous, right? Because LeBron, he didn't almost do it, right? Because they lost in 6, and LeBron, 6 isn't necessarily almost, but he kept him competitive for 6 games, and now they're back and they're down 3-1 anyways, in which at that point in the finals had never been come back from, right? At that point, we were in the 70th season, and a 3-1 lead has never been come back from in the NBA Finals. And it just so happened to be against, at worst, the second best player in the history of the sport. And that they came back from that too. That, it's something that, I wasn't really watching basketball all the time, right? It wasn't something that I really paid attention to. I knew what was happening. I remember the finals, because I remember the Cavs going down 3-1 and my dad going, "Hey, Jack, I'll bet you $1 that the Cavs don't come back." And I was like, "I'll take that bet." Because my dad was like, "This kid's an idiot." I mean, I was, but they won anyways. But, the fact that had never happened before, and it just so happened to be in this situation where not only, was it a rematch from the previous year where LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers were completely dismantled via injuries on their roster, and happened to be replaying the team that they had played that year in the finals the next year when they were down 3-1. But that was also against who at that point was the greatest team of all time, who had also come back from down 3-1 in the previous round. The layers upon layers upon layers of holy shit, what is happening? That happens. We take it for granted what happened in the span of 2.5 weeks, where the Warriors went down 3-1, came back from 3-1, went up 3-1, and then blew the 3-1 lead, right? And it's not. I don't think it's a comment on the Warriors blew it, because I do something that Curry said was we played well, they just played better. That make I mean I didn't watch it because I wasn't watching basketball, but I'm sure he's right. Because, I mean, bare a 73-9 team isn't Losing 4 games out of 7 when they won 73 out of 82. Maybe they did blow it. I don't know. It's just, but thinking about stuff like that, and then you come, like, then we go to the NFL, and we go to, like, 2007, when it was the only time in the history of the NFL, or in the history of the 16-game season, that a team went 16-0. They didn't lose. They didn't lose a single game. That they made it to the Super Bowl and happened to play one of the only teams that gave them a shot, gave them a run. Because they did. In the last game of that season, the Giants lost 35-38. And that they played one of the few teams that gave them a run. But that game wasn't like a like a high scoring game, because like it wasn't 35-38, it was like 17-14. Or was it 21-17? I think those are the score of both the Super Bowls. But it was the score of one of them. One of those things I just said was right. But maybe it was, I don't know, whatever. But the fact that, like, the only 16-0 team in the history of the sport lost in the Super Bowl to a wild card team is ridiculous. It's insane. Like, it's like, it's why I love sports so much, because at the end of the day, in like these sports, it is a group of people, all who want desperately for one thing to happen, playing against another group of people who all want desperately for the other thing to happen. There are only 2 options. In the regular season, there are technically 3, but nobody wants the third one. Like, both groups of people want the option that makes the other one fail, and that it's such a great thing to watch, because you know that no one, I mean occasionally, but no one is half-assing it, because it's like the reason why money's involved, right? Because, like, if you play really well, then you'll make a fuckload of money doing it, and it's just, sports are the best. Sports are the best. And it's insane that these things happen. That the Warriors go up 3-1 in the NBA Finals after having the greatest regular season of all time and blow that lead, doing what has never been done in the NBA Finals. No one's ever won a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals. And the only time that it happened was when the greatest regular season team in the history of the sport did it. Ever. It's insane. And then, oh my God. Sports are great. Sports are fantastic. Is that all I have? That might be all I have right now. I haven't made a video in a minute. Thumbs up. Goodbye. Kisses.